Hey there, welcome to Spice Files. This is Mike. I'm joined again by my good friend Dave Firth-Bard. How you doing, Dave?
Hey, doing great, Mike. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. We're joined by Casey from the Music City Old School crew. How are you doing, Casey?
I'm doing quite well. How are you guys?
Very good.
Excellent.
Um, I'm excited to talk about this event that you guys held, but I thought that we'd at least give you kind of a bit of time to talk about, kind of your origins in Magic and old school, and also the origins of the Music City crew and that sort of thing. So maybe you want to just give us a little bit of background.
Yeah. So the Music City crew has been together probably 3 years now. We started meeting, there were probably, I think it started with just two guys, and then one of their brothers showed up. Derek and Brendan, those two were kind of the progenitors. And then, another couple people showed up, for one or two meetups. And I think I was there for like the second or third meetup of that group. Met at a card shop, and that was kind of the moment that I got hooked on it, because to preface that, I had been out of Magic since I graduated high school back in 2005. So I kept all my cards, thankfully, and so when I wanted to get back into the game, I kind of targeted Legacy, because Vintage I didn't have any power, and Extended was kind of where my bread was buttered back in the day. Um, so when I started looking to get back into the game in 2017, I looked at what cards I had and then what was out there. And so I kind of started targeting Legacy to get into that scene. But nothing really clicked there for me in the couple months that I was searching that out. But then one day on, I think it was Reddit, I saw a blog post by Derek that was like, "Hey, uh, who else wants to play old school Magic?" And I'm like, "What's that?" And
Nice.
I kind of had all the cards already. I was like, "All right, cool." And by all the cards, I mean like I had 4 volcanic islands and a bunch of stuff that I could trade in for like revised Serendibs and
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Starting with four
things.
Volks definitely helps.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's great.
bought those for $20 a piece back in like
Of
2000.
course, of
So,
course, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
but no, that's kind of like where my origin is in terms of the club. We've been growing just very, very fast, it seems. So like first bootleggers, that was 2018. Yeah. And I think we weren't really sure how many spots we would, we wound up expecting, but like we packed the place, and I think we hit like 60 something. The second year, like we sold out almost immediately, and
Hmm.
it just became this huge thing. Um, we've probably got 20, like 20 people we can name off, just like that are regularly active, local, and would normally come to a meetup like once a month. And we would usually do weekly, I'm sorry, almost bi-weekly meetups in the before time. But
Sure.
the biggest trouble is just finding good places to do that, because we don't really frequent game stores. Um,
Hmm.
we uh, we had a really cool kind of bistro bodega place, downtown-ish here in Nashville, and unfortunately, it is a parking lot now because of developers.
Ugh.
And so that was kind of a bummer. It had a really cool atmosphere. So then we moved to bars, meeting up there, and you know, I don't know if you guys have ever been to downtown Nashville on a Saturday night, but the bar scene is not some quiet, out of the way place. Uh,
Sure. Yeah.
but yeah, we actually found this really rad brewery that it's Yazoo Brewery. They're kind of hometown deal. They've been making beer for, I guess, a couple decades now. But they have a new tap room north of town, and they have this giant patio. They've got a great just chill out drinking area. It's so cool. And we met there probably 3 times, and then a global pandemic happened. So we haven't really been back, but we've definitely collectively drunk a lot of Yazoo beer in the meantime.
That's great. Yeah, I mean,
that's awesome.
The process of finding your spot, like your location, whether it's a brewery or a restaurant or a bar, is such an important ingredient. I think the venue really dictates the whole feel of the gathering to a large extent. Here in Boston, we went through a long period of kind of searching for something in the city. We had a couple spots outside up in New Hampshire and outside of Boston, but it was a multi-month kind of exhaustive process of trying a bunch of different options before we finally settled on a place that now I hope it's a college bar that I hope survives the pandemic, because restaurants and bars are going belly up left and right here, which is really, really troubling. I heard is it true, Mike, that the Beast of the Bay clubhouse is not reopening potentially?
Yeah, that's my understanding, although I don't know that we've gotten real confirmation of that. But I suspect that when things open back up here, that we'll be on the prowl again for a new location. So.
Man. But it's great to hear that you guys were getting traction, and hopefully all is well when we are able to get back to meeting in person. I think it's just great to be talking to you, Casey. I think Nashville is one of the bright lights in the American old school scene right now, and it's great to be able to cover this event.
Well, thanks. We don't really do a whole lot of advertising, and we're pretty underground as far as like having a public face. We started a Twitter earlier this year because we didn't have anything else to do, and we've got a new website thanks to one of our local members here who is better at that than I am, it feels new and fresh, and so we needed something to show off the new website. So we told everybody about a tournament that very few people could get into.
Well, that's
Tell us more about
when
go ahead, Mike.
Open back up, I'm hoping to be able to make it to a Bootleggers at some point. It's on my list of events to go to.
We were very bummed out. We had we had the venue, our meeting place, just like really targeted, and we were ready. We had the go ahead, and like months in advance, we had been talking about this. And it was going to be just such a killer place, and it's that brewery that I talked about.
Sure.
And that's the good thing about meeting in a brew pub is if they're a beer distributor, they probably won't go out of business if everybody's stuck at home. But yeah, we were so bummed because it was such a cool space. They have a patio, this giant like stone patio overlooking a river bluff. It's just absolutely killer, and on a wall kind of around the corner on the patio, there's a mural, and it's like rainbow, and it's got a polar bear on it, and it's very reminiscent of Winter Orb. And we were big fans the first time we saw that. Nice. But we're just really bummed out that Bootleggers couldn't happen. And yeah, it was, it's just one of those things that's out of anyone's control. So, but
sure,
fingers crossed for next year.
Yeah. Well, so why don't you tell us about the origins of this online event that you guys did, and kind of tell us where the idea came from, and a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I've been, as you know, I'm sure you guys in your clubs have some people that are like gung-ho about online events and some people that don't want anything to do with it. Mm-hmm. So I used to not necessarily be big on playing online, but the pandemic kind of has put a little bit more of a fire into me for that, because you can't go out at a bar, right. But if you don't want to put on real pants, you can still play Magic, But yeah, so I had been involved earlier in the spring and summer with a couple other groups that had done like a small round robin with like 6 or 8 people. The Lords of the Pit, they have some outside events from here and there going through the summer.
Yeah, the Q Cup series.
Yes, so I took part in one of the Q Cups. I think it was it EC and Scryings? I think it was EC and Scryings. Yeah. But that was a really cool event that I just kind of enjoyed the leisurely pace of you got 2 weekends and the week between. Get your 4 matches in, and then we'll figure it out, after everybody's done. So like that 4-round, 2-batch kind of thing it was really appealing to me in how I like balance work life and like do, leisure time and things like that. Because in the very early summer, we actually did do an all-day Saturday event, just the Nashville group. And that was great, but it was like 6 hours sitting at my dining room table.
Yeah, it's hard to commit to a one day. We've done a couple of them this year. Never would have dreamed of doing it that way before COVID, to be honest. But like the experience of sitting at your computer for 6, 7, 8 hours is so much different than than being at an in-person event for that amount of time. It can be a grind for sure.
Yeah, so like I kind of gravitated more towards the across the weeks batch kind of thing. And so as like I spend time on the Discord for better or for worse. But I see people like, it's like, hey, I wish there was another event, or I wish there was, another. What I did see was that people were saying there's all these Atlantic events, there's all these Boreal events, there's all these Paladin events. I want to play 4 strip mines. So I was like, yeah, we can accommodate that somewhat, I guess. So I just wanted to do a straight EC tournament. I had been kind of kicking the idea around for about a year now, I guess. But, this was being digital. Honestly, a little easier to organize than an in-person event. So I just, Dave, I think I hit you up for a batch pairing program to run that. And so from there it was easy peasy. So pitched it to our group, and then a few people on the periphery of the Nashville Discord, and we got ultimately, I think, 33 players. But yeah, it was a really cool event. Just like I said, normal EC. It took us about a month to do, broken up between the 2 batches. But yeah, it went really well. Really very. It was a good time. It was kind of like hanging out with everybody that you normally would have at Bootleggers. Just for me, someone who likes to go to bed a little earlier and not stay out partying. Kind of just a little easier pace,
All right,
that's great.
Maybe we should jump into the deck lists.
Sure.
We kind of picked through some of the lists from your event, and picked out some ones that were spicy. Certainly some ones that look really cool. I will say that. There's some very cool misprints and things in these lists. I enjoyed looking at the deck list quite a bit. It's pretty awesome. So we can jump into the first one. I'll let you maybe kind of introduce people a little bit. You're going to know them better than Dave and I, most likely. So we'll start with the first one. This is Brandon. So I'll let you kind of take it away a tiny bit.
Yeah. So Brandon Bergoa is the brother of Josh Bergoa, who was he started showing up to events I mean, we enjoy that he does that. I'm not just saying he's an interloper or anything, but we give these two guys just an incredible amount of shit because they're fun, they're good guys. Josh and Brandon are brothers. They both played in the event, and Brandon wound up winning with quite a rogue white weenie list. So the list here that we see. Is something that has beaten me in many events. So I've played Brandon a couple of times. We had a Christmas event this past Christmas, and he balled me in that. And I think we had played prior to that as well. I can't really recall, but he likes White Weenie. I'm really disappointed that he didn't play Righteousness in this deck because he absolutely rolled me with one of those at Christmas.
Righteousness can be such a blowout, can't it?
Oh,
I mean, yeah, absolutely. You can get 2-for-1s all day long with that card. It's fantastic.
Nice.
But yeah, so his list was pretty standard. I mean, White Weenie is good. He's got Armageddons, Angels, Savannah Lions. Ication Javelineers was a unique choice that I think a lot of people kind of sleep on. And this deck had a really great run, wound up in the top 8, and just took down each opponent it faced until it got to the illustrious Carter Petray from Chicago. And Carter was, running a rug list that uses Atog, Vice, Ankh, and then Pixies and Scrib Sprites. All of which, barring
Fatog, if you will.
Yes. All of which have 1 toughness, barring the Atog. And so Javelineers was kind of a big deal. Brandon's main decking 3 Spirit Links. I think he only has 3 Savannah Lions, 2 Tundra Wolves. So there's a lot of 1s, 2s, and 3s here that are kind of just wild to see. I don't mean anything negative by this, but it kind of looks like someone just picked up a bunch of white cards off their, card table and said, "I'll do this." But what that meant was there was kind of more room to be a little off kilter and catch people off guard. But in the finals, for the final game for the win, he wound up getting a pretty quick turn 1 win, and then the board happened, and that is what I want to draw attention to. And before I do that, I want to say Brandon has this obsession with NFC cards, not factory cut.
Sure.
You don't say.
Yeah. Just acknowledging the elephant in the room. I don't have that obsession.
But this really goes to show, just as far as the old school community is concerned, that there's really something to the personalization of your deck. This is the type of thing that he values, and you can tell that by looking at the list that he values these miscut or the NFCs, and he values the various cards that he most likely got from different old school events. Like there's a handful of signed cards in here that are clearly from events. So it looks like, I think there's an artist proof there for maybe Weber. Just a ton of different things, and it's nice to see that. Everyone's got their own thing, and it's just cool to see everybody's take on it.
Exactly. The old school decks are works of art that reflect the deck pilot's sensibilities.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just a prime example of that. And probably my favorite is the sideways cut Cop Red.
That's ridiculous. I love that it has a red card. It's stuck onto, as part of the card.
Exactly.
That's really good.
The dwarf is just kind of leaning in there and saying, "Hey, remember me?" But yeah, so the finals went. The second game went long. There was a lot of ivory tower action. Land tax really did work. There were 4 time twisters cast. The game was probably about an hour and a half long, and that Golgothian Silex in the sideboard was what sealed the deal.
That's awesome.
It killed factories, it killed 2 pixies, it killed 2 atogs, it got rid of his ivory towers, but it didn't matter because he was swinging in with an Acacian Scout for the win. I think
Wow.
there were a couple other cards, but like Acacian Scout was on the board at one time, and I frankly keep forgetting the name of it because I've never seen it.
Honestly, I have to look up Vacation Scout. I play a lot of White Weenie myself,
Yeah.
and I even play White Weenie in Singleton. So for Beast Singleton, out at Urza's Chalice, last couple of years I played White Weenie. I played White Weenie in the 7-point Singleton event that's happening right now. And Acacian Scout has been cut from my Singleton list. we'll put it that way. I know it costs 1. It does something with like involving tapping something, or I don't know, but
So it's a 1/1 for 1 with an ability, so it beats the curve.
It has an ability, sure.
You pay 1 colorless and tap it, and you can give a creature first strike.
Okay, all right, yeah. I gotcha.
So I can't speak to like Brandon's thought process behind putting those in, but like if a Crusade hits the board, it's now a 2/2 and it matters. And
for sure.
regardless.
Yeah. I think I prefer the and I'm forgetting the name of it now that I started talking, but the one that has 2 abilities, like you can, one of them's banding, like you can pay to give it banding or something.
Are you talking about Acacian Infantry?
Yeah, infantry.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
it's not quite the same, but
respect to Brandon. He won the tournament with this. We can't question the tech. Ben Hero is head and shoulders above both of those cards. not close.
There were just a big pile of very, very sick plays across the entire finals match.
I bet.
Cool.
It was just so cool to see.
Well, just having Silex be relevant is fantastic for sure.
I would say more people need to play it.
I like the just random single cards in his sideboard in general. The conversion, the Blaze of Glory, the Sword of the Ages. I can't even begin to imagine at what point Sword of the Ages starts to look like a good idea for White Weenie. Although with Righteousness, now you've got a case, right? Because
I did not see it, and I actually don't know what card is under the Blaze of Glory. It could be a Righteousness in itself, but he has a main deck Preacher and a sideboard Preacher. So
underneath the Blaze of Glory, it looks like an Abu Jafar, altered perhaps altered by Ken Meyer Jr. himself to look like Urnimjins.
Abu Jafar did make an appearance in the second game and did kill an ATOG. So,
see, that's good tech against ATOG. I like that a lot. Nice. I like that a lot.
Yeah. I mean, there is something to say about that type of sideboard strategy as well. I think a lot of people throw together a sideboard and they have very certain things that they kind of maybe jam too much of into their sideboards, and then it becomes very hard to like really sideboard in all the cards that you have available to you for like a certain matchup, and having all these like random one-ofs is actually a way to sort of I don't know, quote unquote, fix that problem, because you're really just you have like very like specific things that might help here or there, but you're really only going to board in maybe 3 of these things, and that kind of
tops for sure, right? Because White Weenie is a deck that largely doesn't care what the opponent is doing. There's a couple disruption aspects around the margins that you can swap out the least effective ones for a silver bullet from your board, like like Blaze of Glory or Conversion or Silex to win the tournament. I don't know. This is a sweet pile. I love the customization. Again, I mean, there's not much more that we can say about just having everyone kind of crafting their pile over time to fit their sensibilities and their aesthetic, and this is just a tremendous example of that.
Yeah.
All right. What's
right.
what's next?
So let's see. Next up.
That is Brian Urbano's list. The Shop's King.
It's a very pretty deck. I'll say that first of all.
He's got some nice cards. Brian Urbano does.
It's absolutely gorgeous. I personally am partial to beta icy manipulators, so alpha's not doing much for me, but he enjoys it, and that's good.
You rebel.
But again, let me draw your attention to the first two cards in the top row. That is not his sideboard.
Yeah.
We've got.
I think those two card choices are why we're here at all, to be honest.
Absolutely. Also, Sage of Latnam. Big deal.
Yeah. Sage is good. I think I do have to say I don't think we've ever covered a real Shops deck
an actual Shops deck.
Yeah, an actual
spice piles.
I'm trying to think back. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that we have. We've featured some decks with workshops in them, but they most definitely did some other weird thing, and they were playing workshops to power out that weird thing,
Yeah.
But there's good reason to talk about this. I think, because those Aeoli piles are very strange, as are the psychic purges. Yeah, it's pretty interesting to see.
Yeah, main deck. I mean, they do a lot of work. If you are a Shops deck, your main enemy is Argothian Pixies.
Sure.
And Psychic Purge and Aeoli Pile both kill Argothian Pixies.
That's true.
It is amazing that Pixies can't take damage from artifact creatures, but can still take damage from other artifact sources. I've had Pixies killed by rocket launchers in my life, and I can tell you it does not feel good. And getting a Pixie piled is equally detestable for sure. But I think it makes sense in a meta where you've got a bunch of little critters running around, and no Hymn to Torok player will see the main deck purges coming from workshops.
Bro, did you forget to unsideboard after last game?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Exactly.
That's cool. Yeah, I also see the one candelabra. That's kind of interesting too. You don't normally see that.
Yeah, I actually did not play Brian, unfortunately. So I didn't get to see what the candelabra was fully capable of, but I imagine it's tapping the Lotus land. Yeah.
I mean, I guess it means you kind of have like a virtual fifth workshop if you already have a workshop, right?
Yep. Yeah, it can work that way for sure. I mean, I think color budget is also sometimes a challenge for these Shops decks, so you can, generate a color of something that you're missing in a pinch with one of your colorless lands, for example.
That is definitely something we've talked about here that no one has done since no one owns them nearby. But Candelabra as a color fixer is extremely Magic the way Dr. Garfield intended.
Yeah. Well, that's one downside, Casey, of opening up your event to the world when you're doing webcam events instead of in person. You start seeing the workshops play sets that you don't necessarily have in your local crew. And Urbano's going to take every chance that he gets to bring some kind of Shops variant. But I like, I mean, I just love the specific tech choices for the meta, and I love cards like Gloom out of the board, especially in the 4-strip mine environment, is just a really amazing. I mean, imagine if running into Brandon, right, and having Gloom just shut down the entire deck, right there in one card.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wonder how many stories there were about actually getting psychic purges, discard ability to happen. I mean, I'm sure it happened. I just wonder how often it occurred.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'll have to scan the chat and see if that was actually an occurrence.
Yeah. But it is kind of cool to see it, because you could have some burn or some other removal spells instead of playing like Aeoli Pile and Psychic Purge, but this is way easier on the mana. And Shops has such a bad mana base sometimes. Yeah, I mean, this
Pile is like the easiest thing that you can possibly cast with this deck.
Yeah.
And Psychic Purge half of the card actually costs 0.
Exactly.
Or it costs like negative black or something like that. For sure. Yeah, that's a really good observation.
Very cool deck.
All right.
Yeah. Well, let's check out the next one.
Yeah, next up, that's hometown boy, Chris Ward. Chris Ward is the king of destroying lands. He takes a deck much like this to, or he took it to Players Ball last year, and his goal was to destroy 100 lands on the day. He almost got there.
Did he have one of those clicker counters, or was he writing down tally marks, or how was he?
I don't know. I would hope that he had something suitably obnoxious for this deck, but I think he got in the 90s. I don't remember how far away from 100 he was, but he was damn close.
Those are rookie numbers. You got to bump up those numbers.
Yeah. So I mean, playing this in a fast aggro meta, it's difficult. Sure. But he has a lot of, like, he goes deep on land destruction. He's got 4 sinkholes. He's got 4 ice storms. A previous version of this deck had white for, obviously, Armageddon, a little more spot removal. This is just a straight green-black list, but it uses Nether Void. And the Icy Manipulator in there was won by him at our second Christmas event. That would be Christmas 2018. That is a Dustin Broussard special. Josh Bergoa sent away to Dustin Broussard for that to be altered, and he just did some incredible work on that. Chris won it, and it has no better home than in a deck that is attacking your mana base. So,
yeah, wow, I just kind of zoomed in to see the detail on like the snowflakes, and it's basically like the tundra art, right, with the little caribou or whatever the heck they are, reindeer.
Yeah,
it's pretty marvelous.
And inside the globe of the Icy is the Batman building, which makes up part of the Nashville skyline.
Okay.
Nice.
That's awesome.
That's really cool.
That's really special.
Yeah, and just it fits very well with the rest of the altars in the deck. There's a ton of cool altars in here. This Chaos Orb, the Maze of It, the Moxes, all these things. They're very cool.
Yes, and I believe one of his Nether Voids is signed by Richard Garfield.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see that.
All right, so couple questions. Is he running 62 cards main deck?
Probably.
All right,
that was the first question. Second question, how many crumbles do you guys count? I see 3. It is hard to diagnose what's going on with deck photos like this sometimes, because you have to kind of hunt for what's up.
Yeah, I just saw 3.
You got to protect your tech, man.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, it looks like 3 main deck crumbles, obviously for either factories or Moxen.
Yeah, they're land destruction, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so you've got the 4 strips, you've got the 4 ice storms, 4 sinkholes, 3 crumble, the Chaos Orb, which is also land destruction, and then you're on the Vice plan. Maybe you strand some cards so you can Storm Seeker them. Maybe you're sticking an ornament and then slamming the door in their face with Nether Void. This is like it's an O'Brien deck essentially.
Yeah.
This is cool. I dig the altars. Especially the Chaos Orb is really neat too. Just noticed that.
And that Bayou, I like the Bayou as well.
Oh, you know what? I found the 4th crumble. It is under an altar, right? This is 1. This is 2. Oh no.
No, it's an Avoid Fate.
No. There's a 4th crumble next to the Chaos Orb and below the Winter Factory.
Oh yeah, you're totally right. I didn't see that.
Yeah, really protecting our tech behind the scribbles.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Yeah. No, that's
how? Okay. Oh, never mind. I know the answer to this question. My question was about the Shivan dragons. And I think, and I don't know, Casey, maybe otherwise and can shed some light on this. I think the Shivan dragons are actually tech against Blood Moon.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've done it myself too.
Yeah, for sure. No, dragon's
great.
one of my favorite. Dragon, like bringing a dragon, bringing a fireball, bringing in like a disc or something. Those are like my favorite things to do when I'm getting Blood Moon. This is a deck that he's got a fair number of basics, but it's the kind of color combination that usually Blood Moon can still pose issues for. So
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And also it's kind of looks like he's relying on Maze of It for removal, so it kind of turns off that plan.
Yeah, for sure. Right, he's got 3 main deck maze at least.
Yeah.
By my quick count.
Yeah, I think I see 3.
Yeah.
Unless there's something else. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I like this deck a lot.
Yeah.
It's
The sideboard's interesting as well. The tsunami is something you don't see every day, but I like it quite a bit. It fits with the theme, you don't get Armageddon, but you get a one-sided Armageddon against the best color in Magic, right?
That's true.
So, all right, well, let's this is a cool deck. Let's jump to the next one.
Sure. This is David Craig. I cannot recall what group he resides with. I think he's in Alamo City, old school. But so you kind of look from left to right. It's okay. We got a 3-ish color list, right? We got transmutes, fireballs. There's power monolith. That's all right. Twiddles. Okay. Then we have a time vault, which in EC is restricted. You filthy degenerates. A Sword of the Ages. And then we get to some extreme spice in Dragon Engine. And then hanging out down here in the bottom right is Ghost Ship.
Ghost Ship and Disc, yeah.
Disc. So
Nice.
cool. And then
Yes.
you finally get to the sideboard.
And you
Dibtog.
and you win game 2.
Hey, I'm sure you won some game ones.
I'm sure. Yield, monolith disc combo for sure. Seen that a million times.
I mean, I would argue no one respects Dragon Engine, so you just sometimes they tap out against Dragon Engine, and then you infinite kill them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right,
that's
for sure.
That's a nice win.
Actually,
also,
Mike and
I
I
like the Sword of the Ages to kill them. You don't even have to attack.
You don't even have to. Well, right. You don't. That's to give your Dragon Engine haste, essentially.
You don't need your mana once you have your power up.
That's right.
Right. Exactly. Because you can just, instead of going to the next turn, you can just Sword of the Ages and twiddle it open, and then infinite Dragon Engine for the win.
Right.
I'm thinking about the Dragon Engine power artifact combo. I guess, does power artifact reduce the fire breathing ability from 2 to just 1 mana per activation? That probably doesn't matter.
No, power
Right.
definitely goes on monolith.
Yeah, sure. No, I'm just
Right,
I don't know.
right.
I'm just looking at corner cases here, Casey. I'm exploring all my options for those power or the power artifacts. Obviously, you can go on Tome.
I'm having enough trouble cramming one combo into a deck, let alone 4.
I mean, I think Democracy is still safe if you guys add another Time Vault into your Dragon Engine deck. I think people will still be able to sleep safely in their beds at night. But
it's when you cut the Dragon Engines for Time Vaults.
well, who would do that? And then what's it's a City of Brass behind the Psionic Blasts in the board.
Yes.
Oh,
I
that's not
can't explain that.
That's not super fun. All right.
I'm also just thinking about the kind of hilarious nature of the fact that Dragon Engine costs 1 more mana than Time Vault. Just from a card design perspective.
Sure. No, things were balanced back in those days.
Right.
Well, Mike, we won't make the same mistake that we made in one of the recent episodes where we missed the power monolith, initiates of the Ebon Hand, order of the Ebon Hand interaction, where you can infinitely pump the order to attack. We were reprimanded about that after recording.
Yeah, but we prepare so much for these.
Yeah, I try to explain that we don't prepare at all, but we won't miss that interaction here. This is to be clear. This is an infinite Dragon Engine combo deck, and I won't take any other explanation for what's going on here.
Unless it needs to be a different deck.
Unless it needs to be Twiddle Vault, or something. I mean, twiddling a disc on tap happens too. Ryan Rudolph actually did that to me in the Northern Paladins Tuesday night thing a couple weeks ago. I'm like, I had Disenchant in hand. I was tapped out though. I'm like, oh, I can just disenchant that disc next turn, no problem. Keep on swinging. He's like, twiddle. I'm like, no, and I lost all my white weenies right then and there. So
I guess
twiddle,
if you want to pay 6 to blow up a board, that's the way to do it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and I guess here Twiddle is even just like a kind of a dark ritual in a way, because you can untap your monolith even if you don't have the
you could you could tap monolith, twiddle it open, and then you can get that's 6 mana for your fireball or whatever. That helps you. That works with Brain Geyser too. There's a lot. I mean, this is one of those lists that Mana Drain works really well in. I mean, a couple of these things that the one-ofs sometimes feel like auto includes for blue, but they actually have a lot more. There's a lot more play to them in a shell like this than you might think.
Or you can get them with the extra mana off the monolith into your power sink. I don't think you can counter.
Yep.
Something like that.
Yeah, the power sinks are a good catch hiding up there too. In a combo shell like this, you've got power sink to act as like that mana short effect. You power sync something for some big amount on their turn, knock the lights out, and then you can go to town with your combo unfettered on the next turn. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, it's just a better mana short in most cases.
In most cases, yeah.
And if I could circle back to Twiddle, we've been doing a lot of talking about that. We have a Stasis player in our group, and he's done a lot of tinkering with Stasis. And Twiddle is obviously incredible in Stasis, incredible in and a vital piece of the Twiddle Vault combo. But as removal, it really does some work. Like, you don't expect it. It has utility outside of that. It's got a little more depth to it than I think people give it credit for.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely save yourself taking some damage from something big for a turn. Obviously, under Stasis, you can lock a creature forever.
It's permanent move. Yeah.
But here it can buy you. I mean, it can buy you time. It can be a time walk almost. I mean, it can literally be time walk, obviously with Vault, but it can also be a quasi time walk, at least to get you to the next turn to for your combo. So cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's check out the next one.
Yeah. So this is the deck of Ethan Ward, who is Chris Ward's son.
Nice.
And I just love this deck. It's full of all of the Moxen. We got 4 Birds of Paradise and Llanowar Elves, so we know we're casting large, mean creatures. And the usual suspects are there. We've got Shivan Dragon, we've got Urnam Jin, Serendib, Sarah, and then Clone. When you absolutely need that other one of the things that you have, Clone is there. And I just think that's super cool. This is a very it's a deck that kind of speaks to my primal urges in Magic, is like slam a big fatty and crank in with it. And then Clone is one of those creatures that's just like, I want another one of you.
Hmm. Yeah, no, clone's great. I mean, even when you don't have something out right, you get to copy their best thing, assuming they have creatures, obviously. Um, but yeah, it's got a lot
Yeah,
of play to it.
I so the first thing that I wanted to ask here, and I think it's relevant to clone actually, is where are the main deck swords to plowshares? And this, despite having a 61 card list, there are none that I can see.
Yeah.
He does have 3 swords in the sideboard because, of course. But if you think about it, it's like, why would you swords their guy? Because you want to clone it, you know?
Yeah.
Like
Hmm.
keep their guys alive, so you can
Yeah,
clone.
I like it.
I think it's I think it's perfect.
And,
Very well said. This is like almost, yeah, it almost has this kind of De Silva-y, like good stuff, 5 color good stuff kind of feel with the mana
mhm.
dorks and the fatties. But then it veers off into this other completely direction, the completely different direction with a couple of tomes. You got the
Mhm.
clones there. Like why bother with Armageddon? And
Yeah, I
why bother
actually
with
first
swords, right?
thought it was a Geddon deck at
Yeah, I'm
first
like,
when I first saw the list.
where
Yeah.
is the get in? But there is none.
Yeah.
Despite having 6 dorks, 3 Fellwar stones, all the moxes, Soul Ring, etc.
And
Yeah, but I mean
Um,
the mana's a little tight, right? So
yeah, I mean for sure. I mean, sure, he's running 61 cards, and apparently the 61st is the forest, uh, just to make sure he's got it. But actually, how many? Sorry, now I'm going to count things. 30. He's got a ton of mana sources in the deck. If you're counting let's see,
and
like
when I played him,
two.
that the opposite happened. He had kind of an unfortunate game where he got mana screwed against me.
He's got
Um,
hmm.
he's got 28 permanent sources, not counting the 6 dorks, and no factory, no strip mine. Um, would not think that mana would ever be a problem here because you're up in
Yeah.
like the deck type territory
Yeah.
in terms of
But I
sourcing.
mean, it happens.
Yeah,
Even
they're
there.
no,
using
variance is the thing for sure.
variants, and this is a 4 strip
Yeah,
format, so that
Right.
matters.
yeah.
And then
The 4 strips only increases the variance, obviously, when it comes to hitting land drops. So,
Yeah.
yeah, man.
Yeah.
Any,
But yeah, I
any good
mean,
clone stories coming out of this?
I didn't have it played against me. I I don't know if I would assume clone was played. I don't know what it wound up cloning, but
Mm-hmm.
I hope Ethan had fun with it, and that clone uh, kind of lived up to its uh, potential, I'll say. I
I
actually was on a De Silva type list, 5 color uh, Geddon style, and I had a lot of
Yep.
fun with it.
Oh yeah, it's you get to play with all the great cards in old school, and
Yeah,
attack with creatures, blow stuff up, cast powerful
yeah.
spells. It's kind of an undeniable appeal, like sort of a timeless kind of deck, actually.
Yeah. I appreciate the one of every dual land.
oh yeah,
Oh, good
Yeah.
catch, Mike. Yeah, good catch.
It's a nice way to build a deck. If you have that plus birds, I mean you're good to go for all
Yeah,
these. Like there's very little double color. It's like there's double white in the Sarahs, but that's
yeah. But
late enough.
by the time you get to 5 or 6, you've got that stuff.
Mhm.
Not a problem. And the
Yeah.
Shivan dragons, a couple more dragons on the board too. Because not only are we prepared for Blood Moon, but we're also Blood Mooning people post
Mhm.
board sometimes,
Yeah.
which is marvelous.
and
Nice.
Earthquake in the sideboard as well.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Obviously, a lot of werewolves don't love it, but you can take them out if you need to.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Earthquake I think is underplayed and should be. It should show up in more decks.
No, especially in EC for sure.
Yeah.
Earthquake is fantastic.
Yeah.
Um,
I guess nowadays it has Falling Star competing with it. That might be part of the reason.
mhm.
Um, but
I
yeah,
did
it's
put
definitely
Falling
good.
Star in my list actually. I
Mm.
boarded it in a couple of times, and I think I only cast it once, and it was not spectacular when I cast it. I will say the more online events, I do. I don't think I will be building decks that have Falling Star in it, only because it is probably the most in-person card you can have.
Oh yeah, it's super
Yeah.
cumbersome, bordering on like annoying or even rude online actually. It's like, okay, let's stop the flow of the game. Like, I'm gonna make a diagram built from my cards that represent your cards, and it's just like it's such a buzzkill. I don't know.
Mhm.
Well, I kind of think of
with you.
it the other way. Falling Star is basically where you just invade the other player's space across the table. I'm going to rearrange your,
It's a power move, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to rearrange your $1,000 battlefield, and I'm going to just drop a hammer on it, and you can't stop me. And so I think the camaraderie in old school and just the kind of back and forth shit talking is good natured, and it shows that we all really kind of get along decently well with everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
And part of that is exemplified in the game with Falling Star.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't have that same amount of impact, I guess, when you're doing it through a computer screen.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
Totally with you. I think online it's just kind of clinical and annoying, and it doesn't, that kind of physical aspect of it doesn't translate at all.
Yeah. On the topic of dexterity cards, it is notable that this deck does not have a Chaos Orb.
Right. That's
Guilty as charged.
it was unfortunately a no proxy event, and as Ethan is Chris's son, Chris didn't let him play his Chaos Orb.
Only one Chaos Orb in the family. Come on, guys.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, that makes sense now that I think about it. So maybe you know this or maybe you don't, but so Chris is the more like avid old school player, I take it, and Ethan maybe less so. Is that?
Ethan has actually been kind of a staple at our meetups since
cool.
For about a year. Yeah. So I mean, he's an older teenager, but I mean that
Sure.
That just means that he doesn't have as many years under his belt as Chris does. But
sure.
I mean, he definitely gets it. I mean, that's why we're talking about his list, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very cool deck. There's even this cool Sarah Angel altar up in the corner that I didn't notice, and then this Santa Fireball, and the Moxes are beautiful. I mean, we've seen a ton of very cool Mox altars, and the thing I wanted to say about them is, you often see the kind of the classic Dan Frazier dragon altars, and I've just seen a lot of those, but we haven't seen those here. Yeah, these are all super cool. No, the dragon ones are cool too. I like them. I've just seen a handful of them, and these are different. These look like I think they're
they are the APAC basics.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's just really cool.
From I guess later on into the mid 90s. I don't recognize the art on Mox Emerald, so it may kind of a different origin to it. And obviously Mox Sapphire is the Lightning Island from Urza's Saga, a personal favorite.
Okay. That's very cool.
But yeah, just absolutely gorgeous altars. I do not know who did them, but they are a treat to see across the table through a screen.
Yeah, those are really, really nice. I like them. Anyhow, sorry, I'm getting lost in the deck photo. We should probably move on to the next list.
All right. So the next list is Josh Bergoa, brother of our champion. Josh actually got into the top 8 as well, and faced me. And of course I balled him. But he has such a cool list. His normal deck for old school is some type of rug deck that plays Berserk. And so as long as I've known Josh, that's what he's been on. And Um, oh my gosh. Also, I need to back up. I balled Josh in the Swiss. Carter balled Josh in the top 8
for
to go
the
on.
record, just so everyone knows.
Yeah,
So
and
everyone
in fact,
knows.
Carter prevented the two Burgoas from going up against one another and having a true brothers' war.
Oh. Yeah.
But regardless, Josh's deck has always been kind of one of those things that I envy because Rug is my color or my color combination. I play Rug Tempo. I play Rug, just Burn. When I started to look into Legacy, I wanted to play Rug Delver. So that's very just his whole deck is so cool. And that's always been the philosophy. And he's kind of branched out. He's added black. He's added, I don't know if he's added white before, but this iteration of deck has some incredible choices. But first of all, we have to talk about the Anson altered Serendipifruits.
They're very cool. I see those up there.
Yeah. He came to a meetup with one of those once after like just telling us for weeks that Anson was doing them and no, we can't. And they are just gorgeous. And, I think it speaks to a lot more of how we've kind of talked around the personalization of it.
Mm-hmm.
Josh, obviously a big signatures guy.
Yeah, I see that.
But with that, his berserks are very tattooed. And that is because for everyone he kills with a berserk, he makes you sign the berserk. As I did to you, Dave.
Yeah.
With my Channel Fireball.
Chicago 18.
Yeah, 18, yes.
Yeah. I will not forget that. I think the only time that I've died to Channel Fireball in an actual Swiss pairings event, like a real event.
Yeah.
I will cherish that memory.
Yeah, I like this altered. This is a Shaman Ben regrowth here.
That is.
I like how
that
looks.
Yeah, Ben is a staple of old school Magic. He is. It would not be old school without Shaman Ben.
Oh, he's more than a staple. He's a spiritual leader.
Oh, absolutely. To have his altars floating around in the community, it is just a joy to see them. I have a couple of his. They warm my heart with the best color in Magic.
Nice. Yeah. We should comment on these this choice of creatures along the top row there.
Yeah,
we talked about the altars. There's 4 Serendips, 2 Urnums. You kind of go, okay, that seems reasonable.
And then
the rest of
the
them,
Yeti.
Yeah,
And then it kind of goes off the rails, doesn't it?
Yeah, a little bit. The Mountain Yeti. I love Mountain Yeti. I think its only downfall is that it has 3 toughness, and if that wasn't the case, I think it would be played a lot. It would be very, very good. But it certainly has its place. Just being pro-white and Mountain Walk, you can certainly get it through. There's a lot of decks that are relying on swords, and they just can't kill that card.
Yep. Mountain Yeti, Josh reported at the end of the tournament, was a big star. I think he said he's going to add a second one.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
If Bifafreet, another pretty good card. I actually misplayed against him and just cranked too much green mana into an If-Biff, and I was like, oh, no, I've died. Not like that, but like just I did that and then saw the rest of the line, and I was like, I should not have done that.
Yeah.
But that's one of those quote-unquote symmetrical cards that if it's on your side of the table, you crack in for 3, it actually becomes 5, and then on their turn it can become 2 more, and then you untap, you've dealt 7 damage from a 4 mana 3/3, and it's a big deal. If Biff, great. Josh has actually been playing Two-Headed Giant since we went up to St. Louis.
Oh wow, yeah.
Last winter, Two-Headed Giant and Bartel Runeaxe basically wrecked both of us in that event, and we were just like so high on Bartel and Two-Headed Giant.
I was going to ask where Bartel is, but I guess he doesn't have a ton of black in his mana base, right? So
He ran Bartel when Bartel became a fad in Nashville after that event, but without black in this deck, obviously Bartel gets the cut.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of black, Wormwood Treefolk.
Yeah.
It is.
I was looking at it.
It's a thing.
Uh-huh.
I'm actually looking it up now because I don't remember what its power and toughness is. Okay, so
it's a 4/4. It's reasonable.
It's a 4/4.
Right.
It's not the
and
worst.
it can get either Forest or Swamp Walk, and
it probably won't. Yeah, we probably won't be giving it black ability in this deck.
I thought it was a really cool idea to use Wormwood Treefolk, and the with a couple of exceptions, all of his creatures are basically immune to bolts. So Wormwood Treefolk, it fits in the rug colors. It's a big body. Yeah, it costs 5, but he's got all the power, so he can get it out there. So like it kind of mattered, and it's got evasion. So why not try it? And try it he did, and I think Wormwood Treefolk worked out. He didn't say much about it so much as he said about the Serendib Djinn and Stang, which he said were rotten.
Yeah, I also see the one in between the two of them. What is that? Two-Headed Giant.
Two-Headed Giant, yeah.
Of course, yeah. That's a very cool card.
4/4 trample. I mean, it did a number on me. Two-Headed Giant is a big deal. It's a good card, I think.
Yeah.
And of course, Shivan Dragon for Blood Moon and your, I guess, there were a lot of Shivan Dragons in this tournament, by the way.
That's a sign of a good event.
Yeah, yeah. We're not talking about this because it was your run of the mill deal. That Shivan Dragon actually has a story behind it. We have another guy here in Nashville who bought it in 1995. It is beta. He has had it for that long. And he tried to send it to Card Kingdom to see what they would give them. Card Kingdom gave him an offer, and then a couple emails later rescinded the offer and said, actually, we think it's rebacked. And we talked around it at our Airbnb because this all happened during the same event that Bartel Runax got hot. But, that was a cool trip, by the way. Traveling up to St. Louis and doing the Rook Cup a couple years ago. But this Shivan Dragon, we think what happened was Card Kingdom just misvalued it for what their offer was and then tried to cover it up. I've ordered plenty of cards and supplies from Card Kingdom. Please don't demonetize this video. No, stuff like that happens, I guess, and they just didn't approach it the right way. So our buddy was just incensed over it, and Josh wound up trading for it and sent it off to get signed and all that. So it's so storied,
Yeah.
It's been like a 3-owner card across however many years. So it's really, I think, and it bashed.
In 1995, I mean, beta Shivan Dragon, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome. I also thought I'd mention it's peeking over the top here, but there's a Lord of the Pit altar on that energy flux.
On the flux, yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
that's really well done.
Yeah,
and
cool.
a Lord of the Pit on the Soul Ring as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Great.
And also, we need to give Josh a little bit of shit. He has a City of Brass altar that he did, and it's on a 7th edition City of Brass. It looks incredible, but that is, I will say, that is very exemplary of our attitude here in Nashville about how we approach these things. Like, we are very agnostic about reprints at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I have kind of felt more inclined to play Ice Age, Swords, Plowshares, and Disenchants.
Mike does that routinely in the 1.5 events, don't you, Mike?
Yeah, for sure. And I've also been playing the Alice format, so I have more swords and disenchants from Ice Age than I do that are old school legal, I think, right now.
I've been known to look the other way with Ice Age, Icy Manipulators in a couple different tournaments. I'm not condoning it or encouraging it, but it's it happens once in a while.
Well, I will actually will condone it. So do that. Go to an event and make them stop you.
Very subversive.
That's us.
Yeah, I like this pile a lot. I mean, the thing that I love the most about it is the 4 Berserks. I love the card. And when your creatures usually start at 3, 4, 5 toughness or 3, 4, 5 power, it makes it a lot easier to berserk them out. It's this is a cool pile. The one ofs, some of them are great, some of them are pretty bad, but I've never seen a pile quite exactly like it, and that's what we're about here. So
yeah, and you have to try it. So like you have to have this wild hair, and you have to have an event that's not necessarily going to be forgiving, but that's going to put your hypothesis through its paces. So you've got to figure out if staying actually makes sense in a deck like this.
Not without Caracas, probably. I want to see Caracas for staying.
I can see that in here. Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
What's
next?
Check out the last deck.
Our final deck is one Savage. It is such an incredibly spicy pile for what I'm used to. Dave, you say you guys see a lot of Diamond Valley and Disharmony stuff where you are, but
I mean, just kind of. I mean, not like where I am specifically, but just kind of generally across tournaments. See a lot of Ruck Egg, Diamond Valley, and there's lots of different ways of doing it. But that whole kind of trifecta with Disharmony. Sometimes you see the whitelist with Preacher, etc. For sure.
Yeah, well, this one is going very deep into Diamond Valley territory because everything in this deck has a massive ass. So, again, we have Serendip Gem. We've got your Rook Eggs. So that's gonna do the thing you expect. Dibs, obviously you have to have dibs, but you also have Azure Drake in there and Wall of Heat. Just put up that wall of flame.
That is my favorite wall, and I think it's the best wall. But other people have tried to tell me that whatever the 2-mana 06 one is better. But I like this wall because it actually kills stuff.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. As an aggro player, I hate to see Wall of Heat. Like, Wall of Earth all day, but like 2 power, oh shit, I can't attack anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, then there's Moxes and stuff. Like, you can... in old school, right? Like you generally I don't know, the difference between 2 and 3 mana is you can fill in the gaps usually. It's easy enough to play this on turn 2 maybe, or play something else on turn 2 before you play this. It works. But yeah, I like this wall. This wall's awesome.
Yeah, and a 6-point life swing after it gets blue blasted maybe. A 6-point life swing if you sack it to your Diamond Valley, like that's hard. That's a big setback. So yeah, it's very cool. Since Savage is with the SoCal Deep Spawners, I don't necessarily think it was intended, but having Wall of Heat during a very, very bad forest fire event, I don't know if that was a subversive pun on his part or if that's just me seeing some serendipity. How about it?
Yeah, probably unintentional, I would imagine. But I mean, I like the Azure Drakes in this list too. They seem somewhat fitting, and I like that pretty much everything here flies, other than the Wall of Heats.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so you can happily run those main deck Earthquakes and not care about moat and stuff like that if you run into it.
Right. Yeah. We should mention these very cool Star Wars related strip mine altars.
The strips are awesome.
Yeah, and they all make a nice little picture there.
The
Tatooine pano going.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
very, very cool. I think Park Cofield did those, if I read the signature correctly.
Okay, nice.
Yep.
If not, somebody else.
I think that's right. I think that's right.
In the sideboard, we've got 4 Mountain Yetis. Big deal.
Yeah.
Yetis and Purges back again, huh?
This is more Mountain Yetis than I've seen maybe in my lifetime.
I would say that I think I kind of joked about this earlier off the cast, but I've kind of said that Spice is playing bad cards, but actually most of the time these cards are good. Mm-hmm. Like Mountain Yeti may not be the most efficient, but it has a really relevant ability.
Yeah, for sure.
Psychic Purge is kind of thought of as a sideboard card, but main deck it has utility. I have in the past boarded in Psychic Purge against a deck that's not playing any discard at all, just because it has a bunch of 1/1s or X-1s. So it matters. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm. I mean, there are different ways to think about Spice, and we kind of talk about this in the Spice files, a lot actually. I mean, Spice can be using bad cards, as you suggest, Casey. It can be using good cards, but in a weird way that no one's thought of yet. And it's also like, I think it's a matter of like using bad cards in the best way possible, like finding the shells where the bad cards could do good and surprising things, and that's what we really love to see the most.
Using good cards badly and bad cards goodly.
Either way can work. It's obviously there's a lot of context, but that's necessary when you're looking at the deck, I guess. But they can go either way.
I have the pleasure of playing against this list. Savage is a great dude. This list super fun. I mean, it was super cool. I think one game I spirit linked. I think 2 Serendibs, and I had a Serendib of my own. I don't remember how I got out of it, but there was a lot of spirit linking going on.
This is California Savage we're talking about, right? Yeah. I played him actually in Eternal Week in Pittsburgh 17. I remember that match, and he was on Red Blue then, also actually. What now? The artifact blasts.
Yeah.
What are we so worried about that we're artifact blasting? Like, what are we anticipating, like, being on the back foot and, like, here's an artifact that we absolutely have to deal with. We don't have another way of dealing with it, and it's got to be blasted.
It is 100% bottle.
What do you think it's bottle? Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I mean,
that's your Diamond Valleys out.
Okay, sure. Yep.
And it's a 4 City of Brass deck. And
4 City of Brass, Dibs, the other dib, the 5th dib, and Ruck Eggs too. Yeah, okay, sure.
Yeah.
I don't think you mind a bottle with Rook Egg though.
Well, no, that's a combo unto itself, of course.
Right.
But you do care about the mana base and stability. Running 4 cities, especially in a 4-strip meta. Bottle can be a strip mine also. So that's something to look out for. I mean, I think you definitely don't want your, if you have a board state where you've got like, God forbid 2 cities in a dib or something,
right.
You definitely do not want that bottle to hit the board.
Yeah.
All right, good answer. I'll buy it. Yeah.
Speaking of 2 cities in a dib, we had the pleasure of Cam Wall joining us. Cam Wall, up from the Pacific Northwest, just an absolute stand-up guy, one of the greatest guys you will ever meet.
He's a mascot for the entire format, for 100%.
Sure. And we always give him crap about the wonky decks that he puts together. Well, this time he has like a full-on Black Vice Onk lightning bolt, chain lightning, savannah. Just
I would never guess that.
he wound up second place in the Swiss.
Nice.
It was truly a wonderful showing. I'm very proud and happy for Cam that happened, and I think that's a level of spice unto itself, because for someone that just you kind of expect to play these off the wall kind of brews to come in with just every card as a heater, that's like by the end of by about the middle of the second round, the second batches rather, like he was, I think, 6-1 at that point, and we were just everyone was just rooting him on. So
Sure.
it was so cool to see.
Cool.
That's great to hear.
That was spicy.
That's great.
Yeah, so, sometimes you just got to step out of your element, and there's something to be said about doing that. Putting yourself into a different kind of deck, whether you're going from spice to spike or just switching archetypes or whatever, right? I mean, there's something to be said about that. And if people put you on a certain thing and you switch it up, it can be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, you can gain some percentage that way.
Sure.
By juking people, they think that you're, they associate you with one style or archetype. You can really throw them off that way, and also like, playing something completely different, you learn so much more about the format. Things outside of what you took for granted, and you can take those lessons back to, whatever you normally like to do. That makes you a better player overall.
Mm-hmm. That's the last deck we have. Unless we have any closing remarks or anything, we can wrap this up. Thanks for joining us, Casey. This was awesome. These are some very cool decks to look at, and just the deck photos were wonderful. I enjoyed looking at all of these. There's a ton of cool stuff in here. So, thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining once again, Dave.
My pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
This was great, Casey. It's great to see you, and thanks for sharing all of this.
Yeah, no worries. Hopefully, we'll get a chance to do something similar in the future, because we now have this new format that we've debuted called Alpha to Alliances, where we're just adding Ice Age and Homelands and Alliances into the normal Eternal Central rule set.
Nice.
So that is proving to be a just monumental brew space.
Sure.
So after it marinates a little bit in everybody's brains, we want to have an event sort of similar to the SummerSlam, where people can kind of get together and see how that format plays out. But we've been kind of tinkering around with it a little bit, and we hope to do something like that in the future for the wider public. But also we hope that everybody else is kind of everyone who is interested in it kind of is exploring it on their own to see how that shakes out. Because my brewing brain is only so big, and so a lot of there's a lot of good brewers in the old school scene that can be very creative. So if they're interested in that, check out our website. There's an article on the Alpha to Alliances format there. And our website's musiccityos.com. So
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like a great new space to explore.
It does sound fun.
Yeah, there's absolutely busted stuff in it too. So.
Oh yeah,
sure.
Just degenerate stuff for sure. I mean, Mike and I have been exploring the Ice Age Alliances format, Alice. But what's good in that format is completely different from what you can do if you have all the power and all the the busted kind of combo enablers from regular 93, 94. So
type 2 versus type 1 are different worlds.
Yeah, for sure. A lot to explore.
A good comparison. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, great.
Awesome. Well, I guess we'll call it quits there. And once again, thanks for joining me, guys. And I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Take care.
Thanks.